Welcome to another edition of Bumps and Thumps, the talk of wrestling. I'm Brian Ferguson. My guest today was a rising star in the NWA in the 1980s. He is best known for his time in Georgia Championship Wrestling, Mid-South, and Portland. He has also held numerous singles and tag team titles and is the younger brother of Buzz Sawyer. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to introduce Mr. Brett Sawyer. Brett, thanks for coming on today. Really appreciate it.
Oh, I'm happy to be on your show for sure. How you doing?
I'm doing great, and I'm doing a lot better now that we finally got this put together.
Boy, it took a while. Usually it's simple for me. This is the worst, the hardest. It wasn't hard. It was just, I'm computer illiterate.
That's okay. So, all right. So, I want to, if we could, Brett, kind of get into a little bit, talk about you growing up, where you grew up at, and if your schooling, and if you were in any sports or anything like that. If you could talk about that with us, that'd be great.
Yeah, I grew up. I was born in Point Pleasant, West Virginia, and then when I was 10, our house burned up in Ohio. So my mom owned well, I hate to say this, but she owned a titty bar. And anyway, she sold that, and we moved to Florida, and then my brother Buzz, real name Bruce William, he got into pro wrestling with Jack and Jerry Briscoe. They trained him in St. Petersburg, Florida, because that's where we was living. And then he broke me in, and it's been great ever since. He passed away in 2000. It was 33 years ago. He's been dead, but he died at 32.
Wow.
Young, yeah. But, he lived a fast life, that's for sure. He had about 10 lives. He was a little crazy, but hey, I knew Buzz better than anybody, I can tell you that.
Yeah.
If he liked you didn't have a problem. But if he didn't like you, well, you can ask some of the boys.
Yeah.
It is what it is. Hey, Buzz was sort of crazy, but he was my brother. So, ain't nothing bad I really want to say about him. Besides, we all did drugs in the early 80s. I mean, did a little cocaine. People that tell you they didn't, there's only about 10% of the guys that didn't party. But, when you get a little older and a little wiser, you sort of straighten up.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk in school. When high school, did you play sports?
Dixie Holland. Yeah, I played football. I played baseball. I really I was a catcher. I love catching. And then when I played football, I was a tailback because I was a pretty quick runner. And I enjoyed football a lot. But then my brother, when he got into pro wrestling, we was always buying the magazines, 11, 12, 15, 16. And then Buzz, we both did amateur wrestling in high school. And in ninth grade, Buzz was in 10th grade. I was in ninth. But he was pinning 12th graders in 30 seconds. He could have went to the Olympics. Yeah, Buzz could have went to the Olympics, but he didn't.
Yeah.
But he was pinning 12th graders when he was in 10th, 9th. I mean, I had to try to keep up with that, but that was sort of impossible.
Yeah,
for sure. I couldn't. Yeah. I was happy to pin an 8th grader when I was in 9th. But it is what it is. I wasn't that great, but I was okay.
Well, I tell you, you and your brother were only about a year apart, if I'm correct.
Yep, you're correct.
And so after high school, let's talk a little bit about you getting into the business. What made you decide to get into pro wrestling?
Well, I was bussing tables at 16. And I was a busboy, and then I made tips about $40, $50 a night. When you're 14, 15 years old, $50 seems like a lot of money.
Yeah.
But my mom worked there too, and so I would bus tables, and then I got into putting chain link fences up, And boy,
Okay.
that right there told me I needed to be an athlete. So I went to Buzz, and he talked to a couple guys, and Ricky Steamboat, he only trained with us occasionally, but Matt Bourne and Buzz trained me for 9 months, and I got into pro wrestling, and they wanted me to referee, and I sort of pissed me off, but I'm like, okay, I'll referee.
Yeah.
So I refereed for about 8-9 months, and then I started wrestling in Knoxville, Tennessee.
Okay.
And that was the first place I went. And then I went to Portland, Oregon, as Buzz was booker in Atlanta, but I didn't want to hang on his coattail. So I said, I'm going to go to Oregon so everybody don't think I'm hanging on my brother's coattail.
Yeah.
So I went out there as Hacksaw Sawyer and stayed there about 6 years and wrestled Flair every time he came in. And Don Owens, best promoter in the world. Man, I tell you, I look back now and I see how he paid me, and all these millionaires paid me. It was bullshit. Oh, yeah. Don Owens, there's not a better promoter in the world back then. I can tell you that. He was, he gave me one hell of a push. Yeah. And so did Ole Anderson when I went to Atlanta. But Buzz was booking, and Ole was running it and booking. Yeah. Sometimes he'd change what Buzz wrote, and sometimes he wouldn't. So, and then we worked an angle with the Road Warriors for about 2 years. Mm-hmm. Well, let me back up. Well, then when I left Portland, Oregon, and I came to Atlanta, Georgia, I married my wife. She died in 2016 from cancer after 37 years. Yeah. After 37 years of marriage, and then moved to West Virginia, and been here ever since. Yeah. But, you know, it's hard to lose somebody like that, but you know, it is what it is. You got to move on. You can't feel sorry about shit. It gets you a little depressed sometimes, but you got to move on.
Yeah. I can imagine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wrestling fans, promoters, wrestlers, and anyone who enjoys pro wrestling now have something new to be excited about. The Wrestling Fans International Association, the WFIA, is back. WFIA is an association that exists to promote, grow, and support professional wrestling throughout the world. Membership is free. Your membership includes a free digital bi-monthly publication of the Wrestling Fan News newsletter, association updates, voting privileges, and much more. Please go to thewfia.org, that's thewfia.org, and become a member today. So, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead. No, I was just going to say, with your story about you going down to Atlanta, meeting up with Ole and your brother, tell us how that kind of went down.
And we started working with the Road Warriors, and we was the first tag team to beat them for their belts. And then we worked a 2-year run with the Road Warriors. They broke my wrist, and we had all kinds of problems. But they're great workers. Me and Buzz and Matt Bourne would go down and train them. Yeah. I mean, when they came to Atlanta, Georgia, they didn't even know how to call a high spot. But they caught on quick. They learned. They knew how to make money. I can tell you that. That's one of the best runs I ever had. And Ole Anderson, you know, he's sort of a grouch, but you just got to know how to talk to Ole. I mean, I can't say nothing bad about him. I hear everybody knocking him, but I mean, he had to do what he had to do because his ass was on the line.
Yeah. I've been told that Ole was kind of, you know, grouch, but
he knew what he was doing.
I was going to say, you know, he booked, you know, that territory, and it was pretty darn successful.
Oh, sure was, boy. I tell you, I had some great paydays.
Yeah. So, yeah. Well, let's talk a little bit about, you know, you mentioned Matt Bourne, you know. I don't think he gets the credit he deserves either.
What's that now?
I said I don't think he gets the credit that he deserves either, as far as the business wise, you know, what he did for the business.
Yeah, he didn't do a lot because he a lot of guys did drugs and moved, and then they got out of doing drugs. I mean,
Right.
when you get a little old, I got around 35, I finally, you know, you just can't be eating painkillers, snorting. I mean, you're going to die. So, you know, you got to wake up and smell the coffee and see how, you know, you're going down the wrong road. Like Matt Bourne, he stayed on that road. That's why he died so early, just like Buzz. I mean, you can't go doing drugs every day of your life and expect to live because, and especially when you're an athlete. And Matt Bourne, me and him, we got in 2 different fights, and Buzz and them would break it up. And I didn't like him at all, to be honest with you. He was just a smart ass because he thought he was over everybody because his dad was in the business. And his dad was a great guy, believe it or not. But Matt he was sort of a dick.
Okay.
I'll leave it like that.
All right. No, I got it. All right. But, you know, your brother, when you got to Atlanta, that's when, you know, that was in the early 80s.
Yeah.
And that's when you know, because I was a kid, I was about 12, 13 when you got to Georgia. And cable was just coming in. And, you know, you got, I think you got a pretty good push down there as well.
Oh, yeah, I got a great push.
And, you know, as a baby face. And let's talk about that. What was that like for you getting down there and working down there?
Well, you know what? I was shocked because the money I was making and the guys I was wrestling, I moved up pretty quick, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But, you know, everybody I was dealing with, like Ted DiBiase, Ric Flair, I was wrestling every time we came when in Oregon. But in Atlanta, you got all the other superstars. Jake the Snake Roberts and all those guys. I worked angles with Jake. I worked angles with the Road Warrior, with all of them. You know, you could always make money with the heels. If you're a baby face and you're selling, you get over with the public and your fans, and it helps tremendously to have fans backing you, that's for sure. Because if it wasn't for our fans, we wouldn't be shit.
Right.
And, but I got a hell of a run. Everywhere I went, I got a good run. You got to have an attitude where you can't really, a lot of guys, I don't want to do a job. Well, everybody's got to do jobs.
Right.
You know, if you're making money, but some guys get a big head, you know, like Matt Bourne. But, you know, you just got to move on. And you can't let guys bring you down because some of them want to do it and some of them want to help you. Yeah. Like Tony Atlas, he helped me tremendously, you know. And Tony was a super nice guy. I mean, and a great athlete. He worked out all these nights, and I just respected him. You know what I mean? And you had a lot of good athletes, a lot of good pro wrestlers. Then you had some bad ones. You know, when they stay on, when somebody stays on drugs and don't want to get off it, you got a problem. But if you get off all the drugs, you don't have no problems. It's sort of funny.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. You know, you had a national title run down there for a while when you were the national heavyweight champion. Who do you think was one of your favorite opponents that you wrestled against when you were the national heavyweight champion?
Well, Jake the Snake was one of them. I mean, Jake could really work, man, I'll tell you. And me working with him, I'll be honest with you, it helped me a lot. And he did help me a lot, you know, and he put me over and I put him over. And, you know, back then, you know, in the early 80s, guys my age, there wasn't too many of them, I can tell you that. But I just kept on. I didn't go about the age stuff. The more you know, the more you can do, and the more you can draw. And like the Road Warriors, you know, they say that it was an accident when they broke my arm, but them and Buzz was always arguing. And then I had to step in, and, you know, they'd listen to me. Them and Buzz, they just they'd like to argue with each other, I reckon. I don't know.
Yeah.
But they were great guys. They're both passed. They're all 3 passed, so, you know. It's a sad situation.
Yeah, it is.
But, you know, when you do use steroids and stuff, you got to expect something bad to happen because you might be able to use them for a year or two, but a lot of people has heart attacks, stroke. I mean, And if you get older, you better get off them because you're going to die. I mean, a lot of guys died like that. I mean, you've seen how many guys has died since the 80s. That's for sure.
Yeah. It's been quite a few, unfortunately. And, it's pretty. I feel bad for the families. Excuse me. You know the
what they got to go through.
And the kids. Yeah.
Yeah. When you lose your parents, your mother, your wife, your brothers pass away. Yeah, you get that'll take a toll on somebody.
Right. Yeah.
Been there, did that.
So. Yeah, I know. That's quite unfortunate. Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's talk about, you got a big push there. Tommy Rich, your brother had a big feud with him back in '83.
So it's funny you said
battle.
that. Because I talked to my manager, Moose, and he's working a deal with me and Tommy Rich because of the angle Buzz and Tommy left. And, he wanted me to be a heel. Baby wants me to turn on Tommy. So that's going to make us some good money and some good sellouts in places, I hope.
Yeah. That sounds like a great. That sounds great.
Yeah, sure does.
I met Tommy Rich last year, actually, at the Cauliflower Alley Club. And heck of a nice guy.
Yeah. Tommy and me did some traveling together, and I ain't seen him in probably 25 years, something like that. It's been a while, but I'll see him on the 23rd.
All right. What's going on? Tell us about that. What's going on tomorrow?
Oh, it's a meet and greet thing. It's up in Logan, West Virginia, and going up. It's just right before Kentucky, and going up there and signing autographs and work a little angle. Hopefully Tommy's coming. And if he does, Moose wants to work this angle. And Moose is a hell of a nice guy. I don't care what anybody says about him. He's always helped people, and he's that's just the type of guy he is. Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's talk a little bit about, if we could, your career, it spanned about 20 years, wasn't it?
Well, after I did 20 years, took off 5 years, did another 10 years. I did 42 years off and on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I started in this business when I was 17, and I ended it at 54. I went to Florida Championship Wrestling. A lot of people forget all that stuff. I stayed there for probably 5 years. I went let's see. I went out to Missouri. I forget, Bob Geigel and all them were out there. That's when I was
City.
That's when I was tag teaming with Marty Jannetty, and we had a nice little. Marty was a hell of a guy, I ain't seen him in a few years. Probably, I don't know. I'm guessing 20 years. But it's good to see all these guys again, because a lot of them are passed away. It's pretty sad.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it's all from, we lived pretty wild in the early 80s. But if you don't wake up, that's a problem. I can tell you that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you ever wonder what would happen if
you give a dad a podcast?
Ladies and gentlemen,
just settle this debate right here, right now. It's not even just the greatest PlayStation game. It's the greatest game ever.
Not to toot my own horn, but
exactly.
Yeah, I remember he kicked me so hard I thought I owed him money.
I love it. I'm excited for this one.
He goes, "What is your name?" And I was like, "It's Thrash."
You get punched in the face on the daily.
Hey, this guy won't shut up.
I wear that as a badge of honor.
Yeah, I got knocked out cold in that match. It was awesome. So awesome.
We make dogs sing.
Do you always do these interviews with your shirt off?
Going live in 3, 2, 1.
So now we've been filming for the last 6 months.
I panicked.
Followed by.
Bro.
If You Give a Dad a Podcast, available everywhere podcasts are found.
promotions you work for. We talked about, Georgia, Mid-South. You said Portland.
Went to Japan.
Did you ever work?
Puerto Rico. I spent a couple years going back and forth over in Puerto Rico. I hated it, but I liked the money. I mean, they throw batteries at you because you go to Puerto Rico and you're American, you're a heel. I really didn't I sort of liked it, but I didn't. When you go to people loving you and then them hating you, it's sort of, I don't know, it's a little different. Makes you feel different. But, in Puerto Rico, I didn't have to work for nobody in the United States, especially if you went to Japan, make $80,000 in 5 weeks. I mean, most people work a year for shit like that.
Right.
Those are the ones that a lot of people don't know that I did. So, and me and Buzz went over there together for some years. And Puerto Rico, he didn't want me going to Puerto Rico because when I was going over there, they just stabbed Bruiser Brody because he was a promoter over there. He owned 25% of the business. Well, hell, that night we was out in a bar, and here comes Brody here comes the guy over there that stabbed him, and he just walked in that bar and acted like he was. I mean, it was ridiculous, but that's the reason Puerto Rico is a little dangerous. I mean, hell, me and Junkyard Dog, we left Puerto Rico one time. The last time we went there, we told him to kiss our ass, and me and Junkyard Dog we went to the airport. I found like $400 in 20s. I reached out and picked that up, and Dog, I gave him half of it. And hell, we just went on back to Georgia. And Junkyard Dog, you talk about a super nice guy. He was, he was one of the nicest baby faces. He was over like $1 million. That's for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember JYD. Let me ask you this. Why, I never saw you in, the WWF.
Well, that's because Buzz knocked Vince out. Well, knocked him on his ass. Didn't really knock him out. They got in a fight. And Buzz was only there not even a month or two before they got into it. So that sort of cut it for me. I'd never been to WWE or WWF. And because right there is why. Because when they wanted me to come in, but to do the job, so I was like, well, I ain't going that route because I really didn't have to. Because the promoters in the United States was definitely taking care of me for sure. Because guys you didn't run around at 18 years old. I mean, all those guys were I was always one of the youngest. I mean, I ain't too young now. But, hey, 62, I feel pretty good.
Yeah, no, heck yeah.
Yeah.
Good for you. Well, let me ask you this too. Minneapolis AWA, did you ever work up there?
I did. I went in a couple times and worked and didn't really like it. It was just a different. If you can't get along with a booker or a baby face or a heel and you got problems with them, and you're coming in territory, you might stay. Personally, Buzz always told me, hey, Brett, don't let nobody screw you. Don't let nobody. Well, the first guy that ever screwed me on a payday was Bill Watts. And he paid. I liked Bill at the time. But when he gave me $3,000, or gave Buzz $3,000 and gave me $1,500, I told Buzz, what the F is this? Because I did the same thing Buzz did. We had the tag team belts, walked out. Well, Bill Watts, well, bro, your brother's got more experience. I said, well, I'm not going to argue with you, but I can tell you this. I'm going to give you a notice. Well, you can't give it. You got to give a 2-week notice so you can do jobs for 14 days. I said, well, somebody else can do those jobs because I'm out of here. You don't want to pay me right? That ain't going to happen. And everybody, well, Bill Watts is nice. Well, he wasn't nice to me. I can tell you that. As a tag team, if you're going out together, you should get the same money together.
Yeah, no, exactly. I agree. Okay. All right. Well, besides Portland, where was your another place that you really enjoyed working?
Well, I loved Atlanta. It was nice. I mean, I loved everywhere I went, to be honest with you, because, you know, they had 40 territories. I mean, you could go somewhere and stay a week or two, and you know if they're going to give you a push, well, you're going to get it. And if they're going to have you do jobs, and you know how many lights is in every building, you got a problem because you're on your back getting beat. So that's not good. You got to have – when you're a baby face, the fans want to see you kick ass. And if you don't know how to sell – and a lot of baby faces, what I see nowadays, all these new guys come in, they don't want to sell. They don't want to get heat. They just go out there and try to entertain the people. Well, if you don't get if you can't wrestle a heel and let him beat your ass so you can make a comeback, you're not doing your job, because babyface has got to sell 70% of the time, and when you make a comeback, it's got to be good. I was always great at throwing drop kicks, you know. Yeah, so, I mean, you got to get yourself over. You got to get the guy you're working with over, and you got to sell for him when you're a baby face, because that's what the fans want to do. I mean, I got videos I could show people. Always go, Hack, go, Brett, go. I mean, if you got fans, they're when you're down on your back, they're going to preach. They're going to yell for you. Yeah. So the fans do make a big difference in somebody's career. I can tell you that.
Yeah. I was going to ask you too, you know, today's product compared to your era, it's quite different.
Oh,
now.
my God.
I don't know if you watch it very often.
You know,
how often do you watch it, and what do you think of it?
Well, I don't want to tell you what I think of it, to be honest with you, because I just don't. If I came out and was honest with you, I don't think I'd surprise you, because, I mean, think about this. I mean, 40 territories. And nowadays, I don't think you got 4. I mean, you probably got 4,000 with all these guys running these run-by-night shows. And, I mean, there's so many other people getting in pro wrestling nowadays. When I got in the 79, kayfabe meant something. Yeah. Big time. And that's what, boy, you got fired if you didn't. Well, Bill Watts would fire people if they didn't kayfabe, and babyface and the heels going out and having a drink together. Oh, Bill Watts would be jumping on people's asses the next day. But nowadays, I'll tell you, I work for some people, and I see these babyface and heels both coming down with all these generic little shows, which, hey, I did them myself too, but you can't, if you're not a big time promoter and got money to promote, and you got to have TV on. If you don't have TV, you're not going to build a promotion. You know, it's like Ted Turner did with NWA. I mean, Ted Turner, he ran the NWA. I remember when he came in and fired the Iron Sheik because he both his kids was shooting TV and was doing interviews for his 2 sons, and the Iron Sheik said his dad was a faggot. Well, he didn't know that was his sons. And he came out and put him right on the spot. You got to be careful who you're talking about too.
Yeah. Be aware of your surroundings.
So Ted Turner's son, they went and told him what he said about him. Boy, he came right out and fired him on the spot. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think some of the independents, you know, there's, like you said, there's WWE, AEW, now Impact.
And New Japan.
I can think of. And New Japan, so 4.
You know,
but New Japan is very limited here. Because if you don't have, it's very limited here. It's great, but it's very limited.
Very, yeah. That's because they're a real business. And think about this: 4 territories, 4, and you've got a lot more guys in this business now. They're breaking in at 18, like I did. There's 17.
Yeah.
But think about 4 territories when there was 40. 40 territories you could go to. Yeah, it's a big difference. I mean, it's sad because Ted Turner. He was a rocking and a rolling. But nowadays, I don't know the guy that owns NWA. I know he plays a band or something. He's in a big rock band or something. But pro wrestling ain't nothing about rock music. I can tell you that. It's about people that love pro wrestling. I mean, you got fans out there that's, I don't know. It's just so much different, like you said. I mean, you don't take an Einstein between 40 territories. Think about it. You could go anywhere. If a promoter pissed you off, I'd like walk out. I wasn't going to sit around and do jobs for 2 weeks. Who would?
Right.
Unless I mean, no. And I was single, so.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think now there's a big difference too, because now, I mean, back then it was more of a, gentleman's agreement, handshake.
Oh yeah, your handshake meant everything. Nowadays.
And now, it ain't nothing. If you don't sign a contract, if you don't, I know WWE has a policy, I think they pay them, but you can't work for another promotion 90 days after either your contract's up or you're let go.
And that would
things like that
that wouldn't be a problem if you had 40 territories, but with 4 territories, that's a problem.
Did you ever wonder what could have been with the AWA had things gone differently? Had their fortunes gone differently? Had certain wrestlers not left and perhaps more money would have been at the disposal of the Gagnes? Well, wonder no further. You can go to Brad Drake's YouTube channel and experience the 1987 Supermod for yourself, as Brad Drake starts off in May 1987 along with Greg Gagne, Baron Von Raschke, Vern Gagne himself, Nick Bockwinkel, Larry Zbyszko, Kurt Hennig, and a slew of others as he plays and saves the AWA.
Right, and it's more, I go to a lot of independent shows. I live in Missouri, Springfield area. In fact, there's one coming up Saturday night I'm going to, and it's always sold out. There's like 500, 600 people there, which may not seem like a lot, but to an independent show,
it is a lot.
That's a lot.
Yeah,
that's a lot.
Sure is.
And they're good. It's not some, circus clowns going in there. I mean, it's really professional and really done well. And I think in the last few years, and you can elaborate too as well, that the indies have come up a lot more in the last 4 or 5 years.
The indies has quadrupled. When there was 40 territories, I'll be honest with you, I only seen a few indies. I mean, nowadays they're out the yin yang, but to be because 40 territories and 4, I mean that's like day and night. And you got paid at every territory, but and you got to get a push, or you got to do jobs. Hell, I did jobs before. I mean, everybody acts like you can't do a job, but that's how you make money. You put people over, and then you make working angle out of it. It's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
But like you said, for territories, that's a problem. And a 90-day notice, I mean, that somebody starved to death. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. So,
but it was totally different. You're 100% right.
Yeah.
I mean, just anybody with common sense thinks about 4 territories and 40. I mean, you gotta kiss some ass if you. I'm just being honest with you, or you ain't gonna make no money because there's too many. I mean, I can't. When watching the NWA or WCW back in the day, people loved it. Well, nowadays, I don't know if WCW is that strong. I mean, there's only a few guys running it that makes any sense, like Tom Pritchard. I mean, you go to try to get on one of those indie shows, and hell, they act like they're superstars.
Yeah. No, I think honestly, Brad, I think in the next couple of years, I think it's going to change for the better, because I think people are tired of the
bullshit
that and all the glitz and glamour. You got 20 minutes of somebody talking in the ring, and then a 5-minute match, and then it just keeps going and going like that. And I think people are tired.
Oh, Min Flair used to do our Broadways in Portland, Oregon.
Yeah.
I mean, the people loved it. I mean, go out. I bet you $100 to a quarter. None of these guys. Well, there might be a few that would do an hour Broadway, but to go an hour in that ring and not stop and entertain the people, you better know what you're doing. You ain't going to entertain nobody. But that's why you got to build your level up. And a lot of these guys just think they can get a wrestling tag team or single belt and come out and he's a champion. Man, that belt ain't going to do jack shit for you. I mean, it ain't going to make you money. You got to make your money. It's how you get over with the public. It's how you sell. It's how you make a comeback. And it's how, I mean, it takes somebody. I see these guys just out of the blue pinning somebody, and I don't know. I ain't going to sit here and knock them. It's not right. I mean, I was used to, you go, if you got a 10-minute match, you don't go out there and do 3 minutes and go home. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And the go home in pro wrestling means, take it home. I'm going to pin you real quick. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. You got to entertain the people. Yeah. And that's the bad thing about not having TV. See, everywhere I went, they had, like Japan, boy, they taped you in the dressing room. They taped you in your motel room. They taped you in the ring. I mean, they taped everything.
Yeah.
But, I mean, a lot of these guys, I bet you $100 to a quarter they couldn't go an hour with Flair. I mean, and Flair got some
they can't because it's all scripted too.
Well,
and you guys would call it in the ring. Back in the day.
Back in the day, nothing was scripted. You went out and you told the heel get heat on you. You made a comeback, and either he pinned you or you pinned him. That's how it worked. And you'd go 20, 30 minutes every night. And when we was in tags with the Road Warriors, we'd do 45 minutes, me and Buzz. I mean, you got to entertain these people. They didn't come to watch 10 5-minute matches or 7 5-minute matches. No. People want to get entertained just as much as you. I mean, I don't know. Your fans is everything, I think.
No, I totally agree with you, and I think it's coming back to that. Hopefully, I know the WWE still does the 20-minute talk, 5-minute match, and you're right. Probably in today's wrestling world, I would say probably a handful. Could go an hour, and not have it scripted to where they have to know every single move.
Right.
They just know. How the match starts and how the match ends. Everything else in between, guys call. They don't do that anymore.
And that's how we always did it. I mean, I never got a script to read and, I got to do this and this and this. The promoter would always come, Brett, I'm going to give you a push. Brett, you're going to do a job today. We're going to work an angle. Okay. And then a lot of guys going to work an angle. They didn't want to do a job. I'm like, well, how you going to work the angle if you just go out there and beat him? you kill the heel. I mean, it don't make a lick of sense. I'm sort of old-fashioned, I reckon. I'm only 62, so.
I'm with you, Brad. I'm with you because it's like there's no storyline anymore. They don't build.
That was everything.
They don't build up the story.
I got
in your era.
Go
ahead.
I got a guy I did a podcast with the other day, and he's like, Brett, I watched you since I was 6. And I got all your tapes and this and that, and he's going to make it up for me, this Christopher guy. And he's super nice guy. I mean, he called people for me, Gordon Soley's son. And I'll tell you something I like to say on this podcast about Gordon Soley. Why the hell did Brian Blair not let Gordon Soley get in the Hall of Fame? That is so ridiculous. I mean, Gordon Sodi should be in there before Hulk Hogan is. I mean, he was the man of the hour. He did the best interviews. He was the man. And now I heard his son tell me that today. I couldn't believe it. I was like, you got to be kidding me. Well, who's stopping it? Brian Blair. Well, when I see Brian Blair, I'm going to say something. I can tell you that because that's not right.
Yeah.
I mean, he died in 2000, I'm pretty sure, or 2001.
Yeah.
But, I mean, why the hell he was the icon of pro wrestling in the NWA. I mean, can you imagine that he don't want to let him in the Hall of Fame? And he's dead?
I was pretty surprised that when Gennard told me that,
Surprised? That blew I couldn't believe it. I'm glad it came from his son, because if somebody else would have told me that, I'd be like, well, maybe you didn't talk to Brian Blair right. But his son was very, very upset about it. I could tell.
Yeah.
And it pissed me off too. I just started thinking about it. because he's like, well, bro, when you do an interview, I was like, don't worry, I'm going to make sure your dad gets in the Hall of Fame. I don't know why that Hogan or somebody don't come in and tell them to wake the hell up. Who's over Brian Blair?
Hello, everyone. This is Brian Ferguson, the host of Bumps and Thumps, the talk of wrestling. I want to tell you about a new podcast out called Falls Count Anywhere. It is a classic pro wrestling podcast that brings you the legends of wrestling with true wrestling fans Chris DiCarlo and Charlie Turner. They bring on guests that are legends in this business, as well as wrestlers of today, promoters, referees, you name it. They have them on there, folks, and I encourage you to listen to them. If you're on YouTube, watch them. They drop every Saturday. They have their podcast. They drop it in the afternoon. So look forward to that podcast coming out. Falls Count Anywhere podcast with Chris DiCarlo and Charlie Turner. Folks, you will not be disappointed. I guarantee it. And enjoy the podcast.
There.
Yeah. He's the president of the Cauliflower Alley Club, so I mean he's the guy in charge.
So I don't believe that he will not let Gordon Soley in the Hall of Fame. Yeah. He made pro wrestling. If he didn't do what he did to help a lot of guys, even myself, I mean, he helped me tremendously. And why he's not in the Hall of Fame, somebody should be fired over that. That's ridiculous. I mean, you've seen his career. I mean, there's no guy better than Gordon Soley. I mean, he knew how to cover up for people. He knew how to talk to people. He knew how to get heat. He knew how to make a comeback. Gordon Soley knew more than the wrestlers knew. I mean, that is crazy. That's like, I don't get it. I just don't get it.
Yeah. Well, I'm going out there to Vegas in August, and I'm gonna say something to him because I know Brian. And I'm gonna say something.
Man, that's bullshit. I mean, Brian Blair, I always got along with him. To be honest with you. Yeah. But I was shocked when his son told me that, and man, I tell you, he didn't want to tell me. He felt bad about it, and he didn't know what to say, and I was shocked. That pissed me off. I mean, I don't get it. I mean, everybody, even the fans would know he deserves the Hall of Fame. That's a no-brainer.
Yeah. No,
there's got to be
100% agree with you.
There's got to be some heat there because that just don't make a lick of sense. Think about it.
I'm not. Yeah, I'm going to ask him when I get out there and kind of see if I can get the lowdown on what the deal is. So, but I'm with you.
Yeah, that's so
I'm very surprised myself.
Oh, I about had a heart. I couldn't. I told my girlfriend, I was like, oh my God, I can't believe they won't let Gordon Sodi. That's like not letting Hulk Hogan in the Hall of Fame. I mean,
right?
Wow, that shocked me.
Yeah.
I mean, he was there every day of my life. I mean, and he was there for Brian Blair too. I'm telling you, and he helped Brian Blair just like he helped me. Gordon helped everybody. I'll tell you right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he went out of his way for people. Oh yes, many times. I mean, gee whiz, that's there's got to be a problem, or there's got to be some heat there somewhere. I'm guessing. I mean, I don't know, but
I don't know either. But like I said, I'm gonna talk to him about it and see what's going on with that. If we could, I want to know what's coming up for you. You got any? You talked about the one event coming up.
23rd.
You got any other events going?
The 23rd in where?
Logan,
West Virginia.
Yep.
And see, in August. I'm going to go to it's in North Carolina. It's
the
Charlotte.
Gathering.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And then in August, I'd like to go to the what's that they got going on? I can't think. It's out in Missouri or somewhere. No, you said it.
The Cauliflower Alley Club. Yeah.
So who all is in the Hall of Fame there?
There's a lot. I mean, there's
Soley
different awards,
right?
He was so the deal is he was honorable mention or something back in I want to say the 90s on something, but I think Gennard is more upset about the fact that there's not an award like the Gordon Soley, award for, announcing or announcers award or things like that.
He should be right with the pro wrestlers. I mean, that right, don't make a lick of sense to me.
Yeah. And so I know when I interviewed Gennard about it a few months back, they honored him at the Hall of Fame in Iowa a few years back, but they haven't at the one in Vegas.
Man.
And I don't know all the details. There must be some heat. You're probably right. I just don't.
That makes me not want to. Man, that's not right. I mean, why would you? And he's already passed. First of all, I just don't. It don't make a lick of sense. There's got to be heat there or something. I mean, I can't see no heat though, because Brian Blair. I mean, I thought he was pretty nice. I mean, I know he's a nice guy, but that don't make a lick of sense. And he's the guy in charge, correct?
He is. That is correct. Yeah.
Boy, I hope somebody's listening to this that helps, that talks to him, because anybody I've talked to it about, and I've only talked to a couple, 10, 15 people, and none of them agree with it. I mean, one of them didn't even know Gordon Soley, and he said, "What you're saying, Brett, it don't make a lick of sense." I was like, I never seen another commentator do the work that he did and help guys out like he did. He always went out of his way for everybody, not just the superstars. No, he helped everybody. Yeah. And boy, did it pay off? Nope, because now they're all trying to. I mean, there's just one guy, Brian. I don't get what he's. I'm going to ask Brian what the problem is.
Yeah.
Because that is a problem.
I don't know. Yeah. Like I said, I don't really know.
I don't either.
I just know that I know Gennard brought it up.
Gennard was very upset. He didn't say I'm pretty good at filling people out, and I'll tell you right now, I'm going to help that man, because that's bullshit. But Gordon Soley should be in there before anybody. I mean, he did more for these guys. I know. And he helped me always. Brett, you okay? I'm like, yeah. Well, I got this problem. Well, let me see. I mean, he was like your father.
Yeah,
he really was.
Right.
I mean, that irks my ass to no end.
Yeah.
I mean, wow, that don't make a lick of sense. Okay, on another subject.
No, that's all right. No, I was just saying, what are you up to now? You said you're probably going somewhere. So that's really.
Well, I came out of retirement because, if I sit around, I'm going to die. You can't sit around. And so I ain't doing a whole lot, but, I'm doing enough to make myself feel comfortable and to help Gordon Soley get in the Hall of Fame. I guarantee you. Yeah. I'm going to do everything to my power, and every person I've ever met, I'm going to talk to, because that's a problem.
Yeah,
this shouldn't even be going on though. I mean, either Brian Blair's got some heat, or I'd like for him to tell everybody what the problem is, because it can be solved. I mean, that's bullshit.
Right.
That's like I don't know. It's like being. I can see why he's
I can tell you're upset. Yeah, no, I get it. I totally understand. And,
man, he helped everybody. Yeah. Black, white, yellow, women, men. He didn't care. He was that type of person. He was one hell of. One thing I can say bad about Gordon Soley. No way. He helped everybody. I seen it with my own eyes. Yeah, that's sad.
Yeah, well, yeah, it is. So. All right, my friend. Well, you told us about some upcoming events, and maybe I'll see you in Vegas.
Oh,
we'll never know, right?
You will. When is that? August 9th?
No, it's the end of August. It's August, I want to say the week of it's 28th through the 30th of August.
Well, I'm going to pick up 500 pictures, so I'm gonna. How's the pictures? Hey, that's okay. I spent $500. I end up making about $3,000.
Well, good. All right. Well, good luck with your event this coming weekend. And ladies and gentlemen, one more time, the great Brett Sawyer. Underappreciated in my mind, underrated for what he's done for the business. Thank you for coming on today. I really appreciate it.
And thank all my fans for sure.
Yep.
Great people.
You bet.
God bless you, brother.
All right. Thank you. God bless you.
Call
Have a safe trip.
anytime you need me. I'll help you out. I don't got a problem.
I appreciate it. And folks, if you're listening, thank you. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. And we will talk to you soon.